Amid the worsening spike in gender-based violence during the COVID-19 lockdown, we have an extraordinary story of one father who stopped at nothing to track down the man who had raped his 11-year-old daughter. One man whose determination saw his daughter's rapist put behind bars, and in the process, removing from Johannesburg streets a serial rapist who'd long evaded justice. Back to Claire.
In January 2018, in a quiet village in Muldersdrift, Johannesburg, Denzel's life and that of his daughter, Thuli, changed irrevocably. It was at the most unexpected time too, 10 a.m. on a Saturday.
Then I was just receiving a call from my wife. Told me that my daughter was kidnapped.
This might come as a shock, but this is not Denzel's actual name or face. The law requires us to hide the identities of children who've been sexually violated, so we concealed Thuli's.
Therefore, we also have to protect and hide Denzel's identity so that the public don't put two and two together. And that's why we have a makeup artist applying special effects makeup on him.
So I was very, very shocked, and I was also crying as a parent, because once for a few hours when my daughter missing, I was feeling like my daughter was dead.
Thuli's abductor was known to the community as a taxi operator, 25-year-old Tshepo Moeketsi.
This is where Thuli was playing with her friends when Tshepo approached in his taxi. He stopped next to the group of children and sent Thuli to go buy him a cigarette. When she ran to the tuck shop, that's when he U-turned. And on her return, that's when Tshepo saw his opportunity. He nabbed the child and sped off.
As everyone began searching for her, Tshepo had forced Thuli into a secluded veld where he raped the 11-year-old girl brutally. Tshepo then discarded the near lifeless child on this deserted stretch of road and callously threw a 20 rand note at her. Thuli's injuries were so severe, she couldn't walk.
After Tshepo violently attacked Thuli, he just left her there, and she dragged herself down this path and mustered the strength to crawl all the way up this hill with her severe injuries, and not one person stopped to help her.
By sheer willpower alone, she pushed her way to safety 2 kilometers away and was rushed to hospital. The perpetrator's DNA was collected as evidence and sent for testing. She remained in hospital for several days as she needed reconstructive surgery.
When we were looking my kid, we were crying, me and my wife, because she couldn't cope it, she couldn't sleep it, she couldn't do anything.
Denzel says the local police were unhelpful, and it was then he discovered that Tshepo's father was an influential and wealthy taxi boss.
Did you get a visit from Tshepo's father at some point?
They offer me to give me money, yes, to drop all the charges.
Did you accept the money?
I didn't accept the money because I was thinking about life of my child.
Denzel's refusal drove Tshepo into hiding, where he evaded capture for the next 8 months. Undeterred, Denzel's anger fueled his determination to bring his daughter's rapist to justice. His employer assisted financially with tens of thousands of rands, and friends helped him to visit neighboring townships, tracking down leads. He spent hours tracing known whereabouts and paid people for information. Nothing dimmed his resolve to find the culprit. Eventually, he was pointed in the direction of Madidi, a township near Brits in the Northwest Province. Denzel informed the local police, who accompanied him to this house.
When Tshepo find out that there is people that they looking for him, to find him, we hear the sound of the pots in the kitchen cupboard.
Any father in your position would have taken the law into their own hands.
We couldn't do that because we were expecting the law.
Tshepo was finally arrested and his case was assigned to the specialized police unit that deals with sexual crimes. Sergeant Mbane Mpiko took over.
There's other cases that I was investigating whereby he was linked on DNA results. And then the suspect alleged that the other victims there are his own friends.
But the sharp officer questioned Tshepo's version.
If he says is his girlfriend, why did he sexually abuse them or sleep with them or have sexual intercourse with them at an open space? But he didn't clarify or say the reason why.
Then allegations of corruption began to emerge.
He was once arrested for the other cases and then he will be released unknowingly why. The reason was not known.
Do we suspect foul play there?
I suspected the father did play a role on that.
When Mpiko's docket was complete, Police Sergeant Utusitse Simon brought it to trial. It was there that allegations of intimidation by Tshepo's father came to light.
The father literally, sent people to the victims' houses with money,
And how much money are we talking about here?
And in one instance, one victim said they were promised 50,000 each.
How would you describe the suspect's father?
He was actually powerful. He owned taxis, a fleet of taxis. We believed that there were more cases and some of the victims did not come forward.
These allegations have gone unanswered as all attempts to contact Tshepo's father have been in vain. Both the police and prosecutors say the alleged threats and intimidation made their jobs more difficult. The trial was handed to experienced state prosecutor Advocate Deborah Tsin.
There are also police officers who own taxis, and they were also not keen to upset the father of this accused.
Tsin knew that her cross-examination would have to expose Tshepo Moeketsi.
At the onset of the trial, it was as if it was a joke to him. Then he becomes arrogant. But as the witnesses testify, as it unfolds, and the case mounts against him, he becomes more and more silent. All of a sudden, the accused can't speak up. He's lost his voice. When he's faced with the contradictions.
Prosecutor Tsim found Thuli and her family's support remarkable.
I found myself gaining strength from her. She was an inspiration. She was a shining light. She was an excellent witness.
Prosecutor Tsin secured convictions on rape and kidnapping charges relating to 6 of the victims.
He was sentenced to 2 terms of life imprisonment, together with 56 years, and then no application was brought for leave to appeal.
I feel happy for life in prison. That's a justice that I was looking for.
University of Johannesburg's research associate Lisa Vetten wrote a doctoral thesis on South African rape statistics and says the odds of gaining convictions like this are slim.
So we lose about 50% of cases at the arrest stage. But in terms of how many actually start a trial and result in convictions, we're talking probably around about 7%.
Vetten says the data on rape statistics is outdated and inaccurate, so we actually have no idea how South Africa is faring in combating sexual crimes.
At the end of the day, that's all the police statistics measure. How many women, children and men are willing to come to the police and say, I have been raped. But I think, again, if we look at this year's statistics that they released, rape statistics are unverified because the police have not yet taken into account unfounded cases. An unfounded case typically means a case where somebody is lying. That's very interesting. How are the police going about determining whether or not somebody is lying?
Vetten would like to see politics set aside and statistics treated as pertinent information.
We use them far too much as an indicator of, are the police doing a good job or are they doing a bad job? They need to be depoliticized, they need to be used as information and data, not as political point scoring.
Thuli is now back at school, but despite her receiving extensive counseling, her traumatic past hasn't been erased by her rapist's conviction.
When she was born, she was good. She was perfectly. She was going to school. She was loving people. Also, she was loving me. But for what was happening, even today, my daughter, she doesn't like me like before.
We will do whatever we can to protect you, and then to see at the end of the day the changes in the victims. It's incredible. It makes it worth it because it gives us courage and it gives us hope. It helps us to do better and to put in the effort with every case as if it's our first, as if we haven't done another, and to treat each victim with the respect that she deserves.
Thank you for watching our stories here online, and please subscribe below to become part of our YouTube community and be notified when we upload our latest content.